Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to Tabs, and today we're going to be playing another one of these ambush scenarios because it's an idea that I've had for months now that I just never got around to doing as far as I can recall. And yeah, I never got around to doing it before I went off to university, which means that I'm now back here and I can now actually do the idea that I wanted, which is sort of an alt history scenario based on what if the Chinese and the Romans were able to actually make an alliance and they went to war with Parthia. And so that's what this is. This is an ambush scenario against a Parthian column right here, being sandwiched between a Roman force and a Chinese force. So we've got the main Parthian force here, which is comprised of absolutely awful Eastern spearmen, Eastern Parthian spearmen from Rome 1. These guys, they've got their big wicker shields, they've got their absolute no armour whatsoever, they've got an infantry spear, and yeah, they're just pretty terrible basic infantry. But they do at least have the giant shields, which should lend them some help. And then we've got some Parthian spear throwers, essentially Parthian javelin men back here as well, just for missile support. And then we've got hoplite standard bearers, because I have no Parthian standard bearer. But yeah, so we've got them. We've got one guy at the front. We've got one guy at the rear. We've got some what are these? Parthian swordsmen. I think they are. Let me get them up. By the way, if I do sound different, it's because I'm just getting over a cold. But yeah, we've got Parthian swordsmen. So yeah, just Parthian swordsmen straight back here as sort of the standard of Parthian infantry. These are actual good infantry units. So we've just got a 7x4 of those. It's a 7x4 of Eastern spearmen, a 7x4 of Parthian swordsmen, along with 6 Eastern bowmen. And the Eastern bowmen are actual good missile units as well. So this is actually a pretty good section of the column. These are good units, which should deal some damage against the Roman and Chinese forces that are going to be going up against. We also have some relatively new units as well. One of the last units that I made before I left, and these are Parthian or Persian hoplites. So we've got a 7x4 of them as well, plus some more Parthian javelin men. So again, decent spear infantry units right there. We've got some more Eastern spearmen, a motley crew, as you can see. Yeah, they're not particularly great, as you can see from that absolute lack of discipline. I mean, look at that for a fighting force. Is that something that you want your army to be represented by? It's just a jumble of peasants that have been given wicker shields and told to go at it. So yeah, also no sort of defending infantry, or defending missile units rather. And then back here we're getting towards the rear of the column, which is where the actual rest of the Parthians' good units are, except for obviously the Eastern spearmen right there. But we have got a 7x2 of Eastern axemen, or well, Persian axemen, Parthian axemen. We've got a 7x2 of them, and then behind them we've got a 7x2 of Persian Parthian spearmen, which is a pretty standard Parthian formation that I have used before in videos. And then we've got 4 Eastern bowmen, and then 2 spearmen, well, not spearmen, javelin men. Back here we've got a 7x2 of just a couple more Eastern infantry, and then we have got the Immortals, and we've also got the main Parthian general here who's on his war elephant. And so yeah, we've got 9 Immortals either side, plus 3 Immortal archers. Now, the trend with the Parthian faction here, Parthian-Persian faction, is that they have got pretty good missile units, and they also have some good mid-tier and high-tier infantry, but they have no sort of good low-tier infantry. The only real low-tier infantry they have are these Eastern spearmen, and they're pretty terrible units. But the hoplites, the swordsmen, the Immortals, the Axemen, they're all good melee units. So yeah, that's something that the Romans and the Chinese have to watch out for. Talking of the Chinese, let's look at the Chinese first, because you've seen Romans plenty of times. So I do have some mercenary Eastern infantry, because I thought, the Chinese, as they march into Parthian territory, they might pick up some mercenaries along the way. So yeah, we've just got some mercenary Eastern infantry, because as much as they're terrible units, everyone loves Eastern infantry. So Eastern infantry, here we are. So we've got 8 of them here. We've then got Han repeating crossbowmen. Now the thing about the Han is that they are very crossbow heavy. The melee units are not that great, to be perfectly honest. I think the swordsmen are alright, the Dow infantry is definitely good, and the halberdiers are alright. And then spearmen are just spearmen. They're pretty weak in melee though, because they have no shields and pretty basic armor, but swordsmen are alright, and the Dow infantry is definitely the heavy hitters, and the shock troopers over there are pretty decent. But the Han have got repeating crossbows, and they also have regular crossbows as well, which are very powerful. Now, the repeating crossbows should be good against the Eastern infantry, because I don't think the Eastern infantry do have the same defense as these guys. They don't have the missile block ability. They do have giant shields though, which should lend them to defending them pretty well. I mean, look at that. If these are actual good melee units, they might do something. But yeah, we've got repeating crossbowmen. We've got a 5 line here of Han shield bearers, whose only role is to protect the spear infantry. So here they are. And then we've got another group here of 8 Han swordsmen, plus 8 Eastern infantry, plus some repeating crossbowmen. We've got more repeating crossbowmen here as well. And then we've got another 5 shield bearers. We have got 10 Dao infantry. The Dao is a very good weapon, and the Dao infantry are actually very hard hitting. Same with the halberdiers. So these guys hopefully going to go in there, cleave through these hoplites, and hopefully do something against the remaining Parthian units, hopefully the swordsmen. But then we've got some more repeating crossbows here. We've got some regular crossbowmen. We've got 5 Eastern infantry mercenaries. We have got 15 Han swordsmen. So yeah, just your standard sword infantry. And then going up against the Immortals, we have got 12 shock troopers, 12 Imperial shock troopers, plus some repeating crossbowmen, who hopefully can deal some damage against these guys, because after all, as good as the Immortals are, they do not have shields. They've got good health, but the repeating crossbows do fire 5 bolts at a time, which will injure them. And when the shock troopers get involved, we'll just have to see. Even though this guy is an archer, and the immortal archers are very good missile units, yeah, they don't have the same defense as something like the Roman Praetorians, and I mean the shock troopers also don't have their own defense. I mean, yeah. But either way, that is the Chinese offerings, and then the Roman offerings here. This is probably one of the most structured, most well-structured ambushes that I've had done. The other ones have been mostly motley assortments of troops, but the Romans are pretty formed up, same with the Han, and then of course these guys are marching in column, so they're going to remain in formation as much as they can. But for the Romans here, we've just got a loose line of velites, so just loose velite skirmish units. They're going to chunk their javelins out, and then starting over here, we've got some mercenary Samnite spearmen. We've got a 4x3, so 12 of them, plus some auxiliary archers, which are not bad missile units. We also have some signifiers here as well, who are going to charge them in. Well, Vixilarius signifier. We got these guys here. They're going to charge. They're going to get them running. They're fast. They increase their speed. And then we've got a 15 block here of Triari. Well, we've got 14 Triari and a Centurion here. And then we've got some legionaries in the same field. We've got some more legionaries here, so we've got a total of 30-ish, roughly, legionaries, well, 28 plus 2 centurions, plus some auxiliary archers behind them. And then going up against the rear of the Parthian column, which is where their good troops are located, other than the swordsmen and the hoplites up further up there. And going up against them, we have got a larger group of armoured legionaries. So we've got a 7x3 of armoured legionaries here, which are just one of the newer Roman units. Yeah, one of the newer Roman units. They've got stronger health. I think they do a little bit more damage than regular legionaries, and as you can see, they've got extra armor on them. So we've got these guys here with a centurion, and then going up against the immortals, or at least that's the plan. Going up against the immortals is 12 praetorians, aka 11 praetorians and a centurion, and again, all of these guys are going to be speeding up with their vexillarius. So these guys will enter the field first, I think. I think the Chinese might be a little bit closer, but the Romans make up for it with their speed given by their standard bearers. So that's the field of battle, that's the order of battle. They're just going to sort of collapse onto the Parthians from two sides. The Parthians have got some pretty strong units in there though, which means that the Romans and the Chinese might not have such an easy time of it, although I am expecting the Han to deal a lot of damage with those crossbowmen that they have, and of course the Velites will be doing their thing as well. But here we go, 242 Roman and Chinese forces units versus against 211 Parthian units. The cost for the Romans and Chinese is about 2.5k more than the Parthians, even though they do have a very expensive 1,000 gold war elephant. But yeah, so let's get into this and see just what happens. So of course the two sides are going to come to work together. The Parthians are going to react to the Romans and the Chinese, and as we can see here, the Velites are going to chuck their javelins as the Roman front line advances through them. The Han, of course, are firing their crossbow bolts, scoring some hits because they can't block all of them as much as they're trying. Over here, the hoplites are doing their best to defend against them as well, as they fire some retaliatory javelins back at the Chinese. Not too many casualties have been dealt by the Chinese as of yet. They've cut down a couple of guys, I think, but not all too many. In comes the Romans. The Romans, as we expected, did get in there quicker, distracting quite a few actually. In comes the first mercenaries, getting in amongst the Eastern infantry, who are, well, they're no better than the mercenaries, but they do manage to take down. No, they haven't. He's not dead. He's just been knocked to the floor. And the mercenaries already have managed to score a kill against some of the Eastern infantry. Over here, the Triari are getting involved here. The legionaries are a bit further up. Yeah, here's the legionaries getting in and amongst the Eastern infantry, as the Han are starting to appear over here as well. Here comes the swordsmen and their mercenary Eastern infantry getting involved. Over here comes the Dao infantry, and yep, the Daos are doing their best. Oh, we've already lost one of the shield bearers, unfortunately, but here comes the swordsmen charging in against the Eastern archers. Very nice, taking one of them out. Very important to get them out as quick as they can. And then over here, yep, the swordsmen, spearmen, poking their way through. Over here, how are the immortals doing? Oh, the Eastern archers have taken out some of the shock troopers, which is pretty interesting. The Praetorians, as I suspected, are getting in and amongst the immortals, taking down the standard bearer, and they even have an armoured legionary here with them as well. The immortals have been cut down pretty swiftly, actually. I didn't expect them to be cut down this quickly. We still have some of them around here. They are sort of getting involved forwards over here, sort of defending against the armoured legionaries with these Parthian soldiers over here. We do have some shock troopers over here who got a bit distracted from the immortals. Oh, one of the immortals cut down one of the shock troopers there, who haven't actually done all too much, to be fair. The Praetorians have definitely done a lot more than the immortals, than the shock troopers have. But oh, the war elephant's still around. However, we do have the repeating crossbowmen doing their best to try and shoot down the war elephant. Over here at the front of the column, the Eastern infantry have pretty much dissolved. They've managed to cut down basically all of the. They've actually managed to cut down basically all of the well, they mercenary Samnite spearmen, and actually some of the swordsmen have actually managed to break through to the velites here, which is not good for the velites because these guys are not the traditional legionaries that I have, and actually most of the allied forces have collapsed here. I'm surprised exactly where all of the Romans have gone, but judging by the amount of shields that are down here, I'm guessing most of them have died. But there goes a Han swordsman just absolutely shredded just absolutely shredding an Eastern infantryman there. Over here we've got some Praetorians and some armoured legionaries here. The War Elephant is down, which is very good. It's down to the Praetorians really to take out these remaining immortals, because for the most part the ambushing forces have been pushed back, actually. The Parthians have managed to defend themselves quite well. I mean, over here the Eastern infantry have pretty much been cut down. We've got a dead mercenary here. Amazingly, the standard bearer at the front actually managed to kill one of the mercenary Eastern spearmen, which is no real surprise. Oof! There goes one of the shield bearers, whose shield is actually defending the Parthians, which is not exactly what you want. And here comes a repeating crossbow bolt. Oh my god, that was so very near to killing this guy, but down goes one of the standard bearers there. Over here, I think there's someone trapped underneath, which the Parthians are all trying to get to. And over here, the Dao infantry and the swordsmen are actually doing their best to take out these hoplites, but down goes one of the Dao infantry. That's not very good. They really need these guys to still be around. Over here, we've still got a shock trooper, and it looks like most of the immortals are dead. We've still got 2 immortals here, going up against this Praetorian, who is doing his best to defend himself. We've got the Praetorian Centurion here, engaging, yes, taking out, in fact, alongside another Praetorian, taking out one of the immortals there. I think that might be the second to last immortal. I think this guy's the only guy left. We've even got Han swordsmen getting involved here. So we've got sort of the remaining ambushing forces are sort of regathering themselves. I think mostly the Romans have died. I think the Romans charging in there, getting stuck in, did not help the cause. Oof, that's unfortunate. There goes one of the spearmen. That's definitely not what they want. There goes a shield carrier, I think, there. Yeah, the spearmen are not doing too well against the Eastern infantry, considering the fact that the Eastern infantry do at least have giant shields, whereas the spearmen do not. Although they are trying their best. The velites are actually getting cut down over here by the Parthian swordsmen, which their small shields, in fact, are definitely doing them no favours. Yeah, doing them no favours at all against these spearmen. Over here we've got the remaining Parthians are trying to defend themselves against the remaining Han swordsmen who are over here, which there's actually quite a few of them. There's even still a shield bearer as well. And over here, the Immortal, giving it his best. There's 2 Immortals left, actually. We've just found another one. Oh, but unfortunate for them there. One of the velites just strikes him down, which is definitely not great for the Parthians. And some repeating crossbow bolts are being chucked over there. We've got some repeating crossbow bolts coming over here, being fired at the hoplites. Oh, that guy is very lucky that one got stuck into his shield. Oh, he takes one to the back there, I think. Yeah, definitely took one to the back. And there goes another one to the head. And there goes one of the hoplites. Turns out that even well-trained hoplites are unable to defend themselves against the mass volley fire coming from repeating crossbows wielded by the Han. As the swordsman here, this hoplite's left himself a bit wide open, but he does manage to take down a swordsman for his trouble, so it's doing something for him, most certainly. Over here, the remaining Han infantry, well, there's not many of them in number, let's be honest. Yeah, there goes the spearman. And that was actually the last guy. Over here. The Parthians have actually won this fight. And the swordsmen over here are making their way down the line, killing off velites, but One of the Velites manages to actually defend himself, and they finally killed the Parthian swordsman, which is very good for the Velites. They really just need to kill this guy, but unfortunately, in his last dying breath, he manages to take down one more Velite before he gets struck down by a spear. And now that means that the Romans can finally start concentrating back on helping their remaining allies, such as this Praetorian, in taking down these remaining Parthians, who are, well, they are sort of clearing up the remaining Han forces. Even though the remaining Roman elite and Chinese elite forces are getting over here, I don't know if it will be enough to defend themselves. I mean, there's still some good Parthian units left over here. There's 3 hoplites after all, and the repeating crossbowmen have reloaded. But yeah, this hoplite shield is doing him great favours for defending against these repeating crossbow bolts. Who, oh, I say that as he takes one to the gut. That's very unfortunate for him. And there's another one to the chest, and that one misses him. He's very lucky there. But that means that these guys can now readjust their aim. I think, yep, they've taken down one of the other hoplites. Oh, okay, the repeating crossbowmen are actually defending themselves. They are actually defending themselves. The Eastern Infantry are turning to deal with the Armoured Legionary, I think, who's advancing there. As this guy gets bombarded by repeating crossbow bolts. Look at the amount of repeating crossbow bolts that are coming at this guy. And he's dodging all of them. How is he doing this? How? How has he done this? That's it, they're all reloading. He's managed to defend himself. Look at that. Look at that, he's taken none to his actual body. They're all stuck in his shield. Oh no, the repeating crossbowman. And here comes another guy. Another guy has reloaded. Yeah, these guys haven't though. And I think that was actually just a stray bolt. Yeah, they're all needing to reload. These crossbowmen over here are all having to reload. Yeah, they're all having to reload. There's nothing they can do about it. All they can do is keep on running away. Keep on running away or advancing. Over here, shock trooper. We've got a Praetorian, I think, face down. He's just tripped over. Yeah, he's tripped over. The Eastern Infantry. Yeah, they're tangling with an Armoured Legionary. I don't really rate their chances unless they can get some help from the Han repeating crossbowmen, who are doing their best to shoot the Roman in the back. But in charges a Praetorian. Oh my god, there's so many missiles. And there goes the Armoured Legionary. Yep, struck in the back by a Han repeating crossbowman. That's how it always goes. Like I said, these guys really needed that help from the these guys really needed the help against these elite units. Yeah, the Praetorian's dead as well. I think he might have actually died to an Eastern Spearman, because these guys' shields are actually defending themselves pretty well against the incoming fire. Oh, there's a Praetorian still here actually. One Praetorian. In charges another Praetorian. Charges into the back of this guy. As this Praetorian stands up, manages to parry the blow. Oh, it's the Praetorian Centurion. And he manages to take down the Eastern Spearman. Very nice. The Eastern Infantryman. As in comes a Velite Javelin. In comes some more repeating crossbow fire. Oh, Centurion, glancing blow on the Eastern Spearman. In comes more missiles, and one of them manages to take out the Eastern Spearman. That's very good. There's even actually a Han swordsman still around here. There he is. Just watching to see if any of these stray missiles hit any of the Praetorians, but they do not. Very good. Oh, who's this? Ah, that's unfortunate. Friendly fire incident there. Yeah, there's actually still a swordsman around here somewhere, somehow. Over here, the crossbowmen, I think. Oh, they actually managed to take out actually managed to defend themselves. That's quite impressive. One of them died, but they actually managed to take out this remaining hoplite. That's very good. Which means the only guy that's left, I think, is this swordsman, wherever he is. There he is. Yeah, it's just a swordsman. Oh, that's a very narrow javelin shot. Very nearly takes him out. And the repeating crossbows firing at him. We just need someone to land a lucky hit against him. Oh, how did that not kill that Velite? Come on, somebody has got to take out this guy. Look at the amount of missiles that's hitting the swordsman. Surely, someone, please take him out. Oh my god. Amount of repeating crossbow fire that's firing and missing at him. There you go, finally he gets struck by about 4 of them. Right to his arm. But that was a very close victory. That was a very close victory against the Parthians here, quite honestly. I really was unsure at some points if the Romans and Chinese were going to be able to win this. Yeah, it was very, very dangerous. Is the Centurion actually dead after all that? Here he is. Terrible. Terrible. Somehow he managed to die to those Eastern Spearmen. How? But yeah, I was definitely sure that the Parthians were going to win this at some points. I don't know. The centre lines, the centre and front line just collapsed. I mean, if we actually look at the surviving red units here, we've got some Velites left, not all too many though. We've got a single shock trooper. We have a swordsman, I think, a Han swordsman, who might actually still be alive. Is this him? Yeah, this is him. We've got a single Han swordsman who's alive, and then we've got 2 Praetorians. And that's it for the melee units, and the missile units. I mean, the Han have basically got all of their repeating crossbowmen still alive, all bar this one guy who got killed over here by the hoplite. And I mean, this guy's stuck behind a rock now. But besides that, they haven't lost a single repeating crossbowman this entire time. And the initial Parthian outgoing fire didn't kill anyone except for 3 shock troopers from those immortals. Over here, they might have killed this one Velite, I think, because he's sort of out here on his own. But all of these other Velites were killed, I think, by the swordsman, by the rogue Parthian swordsman who broke out to try and deal with these missile units. But yeah, none of the Romans and Chinese actually died from the initial volley, and surprisingly, not many of the Parthian forces actually died from the incoming fire either. There was a lot of crossbow bolts coming out, but a lot of these guys either had missile defense or they had big enough shields, such as these Eastern Spearmen, to defend themselves against these crossbow bolts. There were some casualties that I saw, such as there was a couple of axemen who died, some from the sheer outgoing fire from these repeating crossbows, but otherwise it wasn't too bad for initial volleys from either side. But then once the Romans got stuck in here, I don't know what happened. The Romans just collapsed. Look at the amount of Roman bodies here. They just collapsed by charging in. Yeah, they just sort of hit the wall of hoplites and died. They achieved very little. Again, over here, there's actually a pretty decent spread of even casualties between Roman and Parthians. As we can see, there's a bunch of Parthian bodies here. There's also some Han bodies and some Roman bodies. So I mean, they had a pretty good casualty ratio over here, but here there's actually far too many Roman and Chinese bodies for my liking against these Eastern Spearmen. Although I say that actually there's quite a few. There's actually probably a decent enough spread here between them, but yeah, it was really back here towards the rear of the column that the Romans and the Chinese actually suffered the most losses. Against the Immortals, they actually did pretty well. There's not too many Roman casualties over here of high-end units. We've got a Praetorian here who's dead, and I mean there's a couple more Praetorians around here, I think. yeah, like here's a Praetorian shield. But otherwise, yeah, the Praetorians didn't suffer too badly against the actual elite units. There's quite a few armoured legionary bodies over here, which is not too great because they did go up against the swordsmen, or the axemen and the spearmen. But even so, the armoured legionaries actually did pretty decent over here, and so did the Praetorians. The shock troopers, however, yeah, I mean, the fact that there's still one alive is quite impressive, but yeah, as we can see, there's quite a few shock trooper bodies over here against the immortals, which not too great. The war elephant did get taken out by the repeating crossbows, which is good. It's a massive target, so it should have done. Yeah, it was really against the hoplites. It was really against the hoplites over here, the eastern spearmen, that the Romans and the Chinese seem to struggle against the most. Because I mean, I saw the Dao infantry dying to the hoplites because, you know, big pointy spear beats long sword, especially when the big pointy spear actually has a shield to defend themselves. And so that meant that, yeah, the Dao infantry, they managed to cut down some guys. But yeah, the Roman bodies over here tell a tale. They just sort of sandwiched and died, which meant that they didn't really cause too many casualties for when the Han actually arrived from this side, which probably cost the Han some casualties. But yeah, overall, the Romans and the Chinese did actually manage to win this ambush against the Parthians. I don't think an ambush scenario has actually gone in the favour of the ambushees. The ambushers have always won these, so maybe eventually we'll find one where the ambushers are repelled from the ambush. I mean, I do always say, what's this doing up here? What were you aiming at? And where? How did you get up there? I don't know. But yeah, like I say, maybe eventually one of these times we'll find one, or we'll run a scenario where the ambusher does actually get repulsed. I mean, for an ambush, I do always have to make sure that the ambushers have more units than the people they're ambushing, because otherwise that's not an ambush, that's a very poor attempt and a fail at an ambush, because an ambush should always have greater numbers than the people that they're ambushing, because otherwise, yeah, it's a terrible idea for an ambush. But yeah, maybe one day. But yeah, so that was just a sort of alt history scenario if the Chinese and the Romans were to have ever allied against the Parthians, and a sort of ambush here. But yeah, I will thank you for watching, and goodbye.